With all that, let's jump into another episode of the Unlocked Podcast. We are three business owners from across the globe, but today we're all three together. Don't worry about it. But today we're all three together in Las Vegas at the ISC West Expo, which is the largest security expo that there is for
What is
our
an
industry.
expo?
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Exposition? Was it like a, what does it mean though?
Somebody should Google it.
Yeah.
But
All right.
the cool thing is we have found a corner of this giant ballroom. This is the largest studio that we've ever been in.
This is 25,000 square foot podcast studio.
But it's one of the quietest places that we could find because, I mean, pretty much everywhere you go, there are just people talking.
All the autographs. Having to sign all the
Yes,
autographs, and
it is.
people are like, "Hey, there's that podcast guy and his two dopes."
Yeah, we did.
And I was like,
we did do one podcast where we sat in a hotel lobby one time, but
"We did."
I mean,
We've
gotten so popular since then. I don't know if
I
we'd be
signed
able
a baby today.
We're up to like,
A lady brought her child to me, and I was just like, "You want me to sign his face?" She's like,
No,
yeah.
she
I
was like, "No, I just wanted you to watch the child while I went to the
"Yeah."
restroom."
She came back, and
she
it was
would
just
not have
marker
trusted
on
Lars
the-
with that.
So basically, that's what we've been up to for the past 24 hours.
It's truth.
But I guess as way of introduction, my name is Chad Lingefeld from Charlotte, North Carolina.
And I'm Lars Johnson from Calgary, Alberta.
And I'm Tony Hokinson from Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Now, Tony, we just got you some coffee, so you're
Yep, we're
you're
doing
well
good.
awake and perked up.
Big day for Tone.
Yep.
Okay, he's going to go and take a drink of it right now. We are going to basically the terrible topic that Tony came up with for this episode is
This was your topic.
Oh.
This one was your pick.
It's going to be great.
This is Crappy Chad.
One of the best. One of the crappy Chad. Doesn't sound the same. We're talking about what have we seen? What
Top 3 takeaways.
Yeah,
top
our
three
big
takeaways?
standouts,
Yeah, the big things that we've seen. Maybe some trends. Mm-hmm. Some of the best, some of the worst stuff we've seen.
Yeah. So I guess as we kind of get this started, so we've been here for 24 hours to this point ish
Can't
on
be
the
true.
show.
Yeah, it's been a couple days. I don't know.
Like 30 hours.
Yeah, exchange rate though, so it's probably 25 hours for me. Yeah.
So I guess before we start to talk about our initial observations, should we give a quick explanation or definition as to what ISC is for the few people that are listening that may not know?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, other than the word expo, that no one knows
Yeah.
what that is. But I think it's the International Security Conference. Is that what it is?
Yes. Yes.
Is it?
Yes.
Okay. So that's
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. That was from all the research I did. Yeah, it's an annual event here in Las Vegas at the Venetian Expo Center.
I was explaining it to someone a couple of weeks ago as the CES, the Consumer Electronics Show for the lock and security industry.
It's exactly it. It's a place to showcase all the new technology, bunch of the new products I think that are what I'd call cutting edge in our industry, if there are any.
Yeah.
Like this is the first place you'll see the autonomous drones. This is the first place you see the androids, all those kind of things. It's kind of a showcase from all the major manufacturers in the world, but there's also a bunch of smaller manufacturers that you've never heard of.
Correct.
From countries that you can't pronounce.
Yep.
That actually have a bunch of really kind of cool stuff.
Yeah, what's interesting is like our industry or our businesses specifically have such a narrow niche of products. And when you go into the trade show, there's so many products that don't even pertain to us. Like you said, we saw some dog robots that were doing surveillance and
Yeah.
all
Metal detectors
yes,
and
all sorts of product lines, anything related to security that we don't use every day.
Yeah, so the broad term of security, and we have a very slim segment for our businesses that we actually pull from it.
Right.
So a couple of stats. We were speaking with someone earlier. This show is put on by SAI, and they said 36,000?
36,000 people, visitors. Like I would guess there's how many booths do you think there are?
Well,
It
there
goes up to 19,000, but I don't think it's full per row. So
Yeah.
there's
a lot.
lots.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's
More than 100.
roughly a lot. There's several hundred. Yeah, for sure.
We should probably actually have had these stats because like the square footage of the expo floor itself, but it's not just the show floor. There are every manufacturer has a meeting room where they're doing kind of one-on-one or group meetings. There are events every night. There are showcases in the mornings. It is, again, it's
Well, there's classes. Didn't even mention that.
Yeah.
There's,
The first couple of days are classes.
Yeah, Tuesday, I think conference starts on Wednesday, or the show floor starts on Wednesday, but the classes are on Tuesday. You know, we've been to a few over the years.
Yep. It's a full week.
It is.
Yeah.
In Vegas. So go home in a body bag.
So you can, I think what I have found with ISC West is you can get a lot out of it, or you can literally just show up and walk the floor.
Yeah.
And so I think that's part of maybe some of the things that we'll talk about as well as our takeaways. But anyways, I just wanted to give a little bit of a explanation.
Google it. I think iscwest.com.
Yeah.
I think that's
and
that's
probably
We'd probably do a much better explanation.
yeah,
than we just
validate
did.
all of the inaccurate information that we just gave you.
Tell you what this actually is
Yep.
versus what we just said.
Okay,
Yeah, that's fair.
So with that,
Uh-huh.
initial observations, and like when you first walked in this year, what was your initial thoughts, or what were you hoping to see?
My initial thoughts were that Lars was actually really smart for once and wore some tennis shoes. And,
Oh.
and
Make a note. Beeves, if you're editing, sound bite right there. Lars is
Lars
wore
really
is
some
actually
smart.
nice
smart.
tennis shoes and wore my tennis shoes today, and it was a game changer.
Yeah,
Much
from
more
the-
comfortable.
The on sponsorship
So-
we got going on here. I would have wore different socks if I knew that would have been. But I'm also finding it very tough to look cool sitting with this stupid little microphone like in my mouth.
I don't think the microphone has a lot to do with it. I was just taking a look at you have
My fashion
pinstripes, you have plaid.
The microphone is the
and,
worst of your-
rainbow socks.
God.
That is the finest groutfit I've ever seen in my entire life.
Groutfit?
Great outfit. Yes.
Great outfit.
Groutfit. It's
Yeah, that's
on
Is that a
brand
thing?
right there.
Groutfit?
it's
Oh,
three or four random pieces that
Yeah.
are mildly in the same color pattern. But anyways, you look great.
I feel
He's
good.
on brand.
Other than this little microphone that,
At the microphone.
and it keeps tickling my butt. Maybe I'm holding it too close, tickling my face. Yeah, when we walk in here, of course, it's good to see everyone again. And I literally walked in this year, walked 5 steps, and ran into Ben Saltse with Dora Macaba, and I haven't seen Ben in a long time, and he was there with his great aunt Cindy, and so Cindy was there, and then so I got my fill of that, and then didn't go too much farther. Walked into the Brevo booth, saw a lot of the people we only get to see kind of in Texas or whenever the summit is, and it's good to see everyone together, and I think it's really cool to see the technology. I guess I ran into you guys too, which was that's not near the top, somewhere in the middle.
Yep.
But I was going to say just the who's who are here, right?
Yeah.
Like there's the CEOs, the C-level guys, meaning the VPs. Everyone is here, and it's really it's an interesting time to have these conversations. Everything that's going on with, I don't know if you guys have heard, but there's a little challenge going on with the U.S. and virtually everyone on planet Earth. And these tariff things, and I think that's what they're called.
is that what's
Tariff,
going on?
schmariffs,
Interesting.
something like that. Yeah,
haven't
but it's
heard those.
interesting to hear just how everyone's reacting and kind of figuring out what's going on.
Did you have any other thoughts other than Lars's idea of tennis shoes?
I was amazed by this shouldn't have been a surprise, but the amount of companies that are using the AI buzzword. Like, we know it's a buzzword. We know it's like prominent in our world, but like every company is trying to overblow the marketing of it. And then when you actually talk to a lot of the companies, like they have concepts of how they're going to use AI, and they
Concepts of an idea.
something like that.
It's
But
garbage.
they're
garbage is
using
what
it
we're
as like a
getting at, yeah.
ploy to suck you in almost,
Sure,
and then
yeah.
you start talking to them and like, oh yeah, we're thinking of doing this, and it's down the road.
Yeah, and it's run by ChatGPT.
Yeah, but and everybody is trying to get you lured in with the AI word, and
Gotcha.
especially from the camera side.
So I will say, this is going to sound negative, and I intend it to be a little bit, but
that might be why it's going to sound negative.
Thanks for that caveat there.
Yeah.
walked into the show, and virtually a lot of the actual show experience was very similar that it has been for the past 5 years. And I am still a bit mesmerized, shocked, I don't know what term to use, by the fact that virtually the entire show is highlighting biometric, wallet credential, metal detectors, digital turnstiles, all of these things. And we enter into the show with a printed name badge with a sticker on it. And
That's how they verify it's the sticker.
Yeah.
And therefore you've been checked in.
and humans that are watching the doors to allow for us to come in. And I've
That's hilarious. Yeah, that's very true.
I still haven't quite figured out why, with all of the manufacturers that are there, why do we not have digital credentials to access a digital security conference?
It's a wonderful question.
And why do you not just present your credential and the turnstile opens and you walk in?
It'd be a great marketing idea for one of those turnstile companies.
So that's my initial thing.
That's your initial reaction from the conference.
It is
My
because
biggest takeaway so far is you're dumb and print up stickers and
you're walking into the International Security Conference.
yes, the
And-
cutting edge technology.
With all of the resources that you have, SAI that brings all of these really amazing individuals and smart people together, and they haven't quite yet been able to figure out how to use the same tools that we sell for visitor management and employee access credentials to be able to manage 36,000 attendees.
That's a bit of a stunner.
And again, I'm not like trying to bash on it at all, because there's a lot of really cool things, and it takes a lot to put a show on like this. Those little types of details to me.
Yeah, but, I don't know what to tell you, Chad. It's hilarious. You mentioned that. I never really thought about it, but yeah, and the manual, like people standing there, and
We have paper credentials to get into a.
exits this way, going this way, like.
Now, one would argue that they're probably not too concerned about the security of who.
Well, then why do they have people there watching the doors checking to see if your sticker is
That's fair.
the right
And you
color?
do have to get the sticker once you print off your thing at home.
Oh, when we
And-
walked
and
in
it is-
yesterday, he didn't have his showing, and the guy made him flip it around.
Yeah, and it is ID
Security
verified.
works.
Yeah, it is ID verified. They want to make sure that because they don't want just anybody coming in here to be able
Right.
to have access to see the type of security product. So they are trying to validate it.
Does this surprise you?
Well, it did surprise me again this year. So, yeah, I've been to ISC West 6 or 7 times now, and I've asked this question kind of year over year, and I just always expect, boom, this year is going to be.
They'll listen to you.
Not that they're going to listen to it, it's just that, this just makes sense. Let's proceed. Anyways, that was just my initial takeaway is that virtually the structure of the show has pretty much been the same for the past 6 to 7 years.
And
Products aside, we'll talk about
Yeah.
products and what they're highlighting, but the structure of the show is relatively the same.
right.
So I was actually thinking about that. I haven't been to ISC, I think, since 2019, so almost 6 years now. And like 6 years has gone by in a relatively adaptive, innovative industry, and I didn't really have many takeaways that were different this year from 6 years ago,
Yeah.
which is actually
Yeah, well, the big one this year is AI.
Yeah.
AI.
Right.
Whatever the heck that means.
But
It's AI, but yeah, and I'd probably challenge saying that this is an innovative industry. I mean, there's a lot of fluff around it, and I
Yeah.
think that's
Yeah.
maybe part of.
Well, on that note, so again, I know I don't want to spend the entire time that we're together here just talking about the kind of negative implications. I get it's an industry show, okay? But as we were walking around today, one of the things that stood out to me is
he's getting excited about this one.
it's just
He's got the coffee down. He's got the beer.
if you walk around, and again, it could just be me, so let's just
Probably is, but
put that in there.
right.
Walking around and looking at the verbiage that's used on all of these booths. Now, again, this is an industry show, so you're typically, but it's mixed of integrators, wholesalers, end users, right? There's a pretty wide mix of type of people that are here. But the verbiage that's used, some of it to me, I have no clue. And I'm in the industry for 21 years.
Isn't that it? It drives me crazy. You go by. So have a look at this. What do you think they actually do?
Correct. And whatever the little tagline is on there, I saw one earlier and I made a note of it, but my phone's over there recording, so I don't remember what it was. But it was something like, excellence in security.
Solutions.
Yeah, and I was like, what do they do?
He said that to me. We were walking past the booth, and he's like, he literally looked at me and goes, I don't know what this company does.
You could unless you walked into the booth and asked them what it was. And we, as a matter of fact, there was one booth that we walked into and engaged with them, and the guy was talking, and I asked 3 times, so what is it that you do? Because I couldn't quite figure out.
It's not from Office Space. So what would you say you do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I will say that there's a big opportunity for us in the security industry, and this is a rant that I've been on multiple times before, but a big opportunity for us to continue to improve our messaging. One, if we can't even communicate internally to our own industry well, how in the world are we going to be able to get it to land to the actual end user?
Well, I take that just as a takeaway from our company. Like, I swear, we might be more successful if we delete our webpage and you click on it, you go to calgarylockandsafe.com, and it says, we fix doors and locks.
Yeah.
That's it. Because that's what we do.
Yeah,
make it simple.
Make it simple that people understand what But I saw that as a really consistent. And going back to what you were talking about with AI, almost every booth had something to do with AI or automation.
Native AI adaptation, automation, integration.
And it's almost so whitewashed now that it's not even. It doesn't even draw you in anymore, right?
Yeah, one of my takeaways is the amount of companies that do the same thing. Like access control, there's probably 150 different access control companies in there, and they all do relatively the same thing.
They open the door when the thing goes beep.
Yeah, we talked about this in our last podcast about
Some of them have scheduling though.
Oh.
We talked about this in our last podcast about the industry kind of being fragmented.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it's interesting seeing it from even a manufacturer side. Like the industry is so fragmented that it has an opportunity for a manufacturer to like carve a little niche in this pocket of dealers.
Sure.
And if there was a little bit more consolidation, you'd have a little more efficiency and potentially some more innovation. But it's so fragmented that it's complicated, and you can get lost trying to figure out, hey, I want to look at this, I want to look at this, I want to look at this.
Yeah.
And it's like, I remember when I first came here 10 years ago, that's what I was doing, was trying to figure out, okay, what products do we want to use?
Yeah.
But that's part of the reason I haven't come back in a while, is like we know what we want to use, and I don't.
That's a fair point, right? If you were an integrator and you were coming in here to see all of the different options for access control platforms, because there's a lot.
Yeah.
To be able to differentiate to make a decision on what's the difference between all of them, it could be very challenging.
Yeah.
And from an end user perspective, even more so.
Yeah, and there's, that's one of the biggest challenges in the industry in general. Is there's a lot of crap.
Yeah.
There's a lot of absolute garbage that we've seen out there.
And people use a lot.
Well, just walking around, but you don't know until you know, because everyone's, it works great, and I've said it a couple of times today, and actually one of the guys was like, well, thanks for putting me on the hot seat, it made me. I was like, oh, it works. Oh yeah, let's see it. Let's see it, and here's the canned question that you can ask the AI tool. It's like, ask it something else. Yeah. Let's see how good this language model is, and and if you're not careful, walking through a conference like this, like the juices start flowing. And you try and be everything to everyone.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's so many different things.
Correct. Ooh, we could sell metal detectors.
Yeah. And I just think of, I'm going to go back to the machine, and Alan, one takeaway, other than having goofy shoes, one takeaway I get from Alan every time is, his onboarding.
You're talking about his goofy shoes?
His onboarding and training is so simple, because they only sell like 5 things.
Yeah, they keep it simple.
Right? And it's just, that makes so much sense. Like the platform. But when you only have to teach your guys a handful of things, how much quicker is all of that?
Yeah.
So really, like limiting and what you are selling in your product scope is it's crazy.
I think looking at it too, walking through the show, our jobs as CEOs of an organization is to make sure that we are, one, managing relationships well, and then two, looking for things that are out there that we may be blind to. And so that's one of the major benefits of a show like this is maybe we come here and we go, hey, you know what? These 10 product lines that we have, we do still feel like they're the best in class.
Yeah.
And so now I'm even more so doing my research and going, yep, I see this, and I've done all the research on it, and it still doesn't seem like it's enough improvement to make a switch, or that there's enough reason to make that switch.
And I would agree with that. I haven't seen anything that I was like, whoa, yeah, we got to go down this path.
So I think seeing that in two different lights. One, you could say, well, what's the benefit of going if there's not anything new? The positive side of that is I again did research and said, you know what, I feel really confident with our choices right now. I don't think that I've seen anything else out there that would then sway me to make a big shift.
Well, and there's that other benefit that I think we've all seen the last couple of days of building that relationship with suppliers. And we've set up meetings with people, and I know you've had a couple of meetings on products you're looking into, and harvesting those relationships with suppliers and using that to benefit your business in other ways as well.
Yeah, that's probably number one on the list. A conversation we had with Lucas yesterday was, pretty valuable. It always annoys me because every time we have a conversation, I come away with something else where it's a challenge when I'm not looking the direction. One of my favorite stories about Lucas, and I don't know Lucas Baselli's, what is its title? It's a lot of words.
There's a lot of words on there. I always just say he runs the Os Obleys of the Americas.
He sells doorknobs for Os Obley. That's basically what he does, right?
Yeah.
But
I'm sure he'd appreciate that.
Thankfully,
for listening. The transcript, that was Lars Johnson from Calgary, Alberta, Canada.
I think we were on a panel or something, and we were at it was an MSC or Medico.
I think he's
Service
definitely
Center.
making this one up.
I'm interested to see where this is going.
But we were sitting somewhere on the stage and we were talking, and came off, and after it, people were coming up and like, oh, congrats, you guys had a good year, things are going well, doing all that stuff. And Lucas came over and he was like, yeah, so everything's starting to go really well, yeah. And he's like, so you got to start planning for the downturn.
Yeah.
And I was
Same conversation.
I was like, what? Like I haven't even brushed the dust off. Like I'm just actually realizing like, hey, that was really good. And immediately he was like, well, you got to start planning for when it turns around, when things aren't good. And I remember just walking out of there and being like, God, I guess that's the difference. Right?
It is.
He was looking so much farther ahead than me. I'm looking the next few months, maybe a year, maybe 2 years. He's talking 3, 5, 7 years.
Yeah.
And it was interesting, the conversation yesterday, but every time we have those conversations, and that's another reason why events like this are important, is you surround yourself, if you're in a room where you're the smartest guy too often, you start believing your own crap. And then you go spend a couple minutes with someone like that, and you're like, oh man, I'm an infant.
Yeah.
I know nothing.
Which is, again, one of the reasons to get on an airplane and come out to an event like this is because in our industry, all of the key individuals that are running organizations significantly larger are here. And you get a chance to talk with them in person about actual real things that are happening. And it's not always just a sales pitch. It's not always a product push. It is.
It rarely is.
Yeah. This is
rarely.
I think it's maybe you guys have had different experiences, but I think what I've seen is the more exposure that you get to higher level leadership, the less product conversation it is, and it's more of strategy. And that's really what we need to make sure that we're going down the correct path in our organizations. And so, again, you have somebody like a Lucas Baselli or any other CEOs of large manufacturing organizations. They don't have the ability or time capabilities to come and have one-on-one conversations with folks like us because they're doing their job.
They've got 4,000 employees. You know,
And so this conference is a place that everybody is for a week. So you, even if it's a 10-minute conversation, it can be. I had a really cool conversation with another major people in the leadership of one of the manufacturing companies yesterday, and talking about tariffs. Sorry, I didn't mean to be vague.
Are you allergic to names? What happened?
It was this guy that was. He was like a.
I was just trying not to use names, but the point of it is we were talking about tariffs and the implications of tariffs.
Lucas sells doorknobs for a living.
That's Lars Johnston from Calgary,
And now you're
Alberta,
worried
Canada.
about saying a name. Cool.
The fact was we were having a conversation about tariffs and the impact not just on their business, not just on our business, but just the economy in general, and what they're having to do about it. So it was a 10-minute conversation, very impactful. Gives me some insights on things we can apply in our business. I wouldn't have had that conversation if I wouldn't have been here this week.
Yeah, and that was, I thought that was another thing just from the conversation yesterday, talking about going to a car dealership.
Yeah.
Right. That was the reference was going to look for new cars, and because the way of new car sales is a pretty good indicator of the economy and how things are going. If people are battening down the hatches, and when he said cars are flying off the lot, now that's probably in direct relation to trying to avoid tariffs that are coming down the pipe.
Yeah.
But it also should imply that people aren't overly scared about the economy.
Yeah.
They're just more uncertain about the short-term and near-term impact,
Right.
and any tweet might change that, so who knows?
Yeah, my biggest takeaway from those conversations with suppliers has been, we talk to these suppliers all the time, and typically a lot of times when they come into our business, they're trying to tell us about products and sales and sales strategy, and our mind is so revenue focused. But talking to those leaders and learning that they're focused on so many other things beyond sales. They're focused on managing relationships with suppliers. They're focused on, like you said, tariffs, and like so much of the operational side behind the business. We just think of them as, for lack of a better term, sales reps, but really they're the people in the manufacturers. They're focused on so many other things to increase their bottom line.
There's a great podcast that I listen to fairly regularly.
Unlocked?
The second one outside of that one, it's called Founders, and it's this. Have you heard Founders?
Yeah.
So
You talk about it every week.
it's
So that part I've heard, yeah.
Yeah. He reads these books around.
Live on air? That does sound good. Is it
Riveting.
That's audible. But
okay.
he reads it. This guy's a massive. A massive reader that then takes that information and then tries to disseminate it down into a podcast.
Okay.
Point of it is, his big theme that I've seen over the past maybe 12 episodes or so is all around cost awareness, cost mitigation, and all of these founders. Warren Buffett's one. He talks about the guy that did. I can't remember the company. You'd have to go back and look at them, but he had all of these founders that were just obsessed with cost reduction. One that recently was a guy that was like a secret billionaire because he built ships, and his number one focus was on finding the best way to procure raw materials so that he could build the ships at a more efficient cost. And I think that is one thing that as business owners we can always do better. So one of the things, and the reason I said all that was to say one mindset I had going into walking the show today was maybe there's not a big sway in a manufacturing choice for an access control system or door hardware, but what are the other things that we purchase and sell that we can be more focused on cost mitigation? Where can we get things from that are going to be a little more cost effective? I had talked to Tony about this walking down one of the aisles. We have established a certain process for how we sell a specific product line, say cameras, for instance.
Yeah.
And where are some ways that we can be more effective in our purchasing for camera equipment that would be better for our organization as a whole? So then now I can start looking a little differently at the booths that I'm walking through because, as we already said, there's a lot of manufacturers out there, and a lot of them do the exact same thing. So where are those areas that we can be more effective in our cost?
And how much time do you guys spend looking at your cost of goods and procurement? How much time do you personally?
Not enough.
It's
spend.
not enough because it's just one big number.
Right.
Is it?
Yeah.
Any?
A little bit, but not much.
Yeah, I would
Like-
say. How would you on a measurement scale? Are you saying
an
percentage?
hour a week? Is it an
Oh
hour?
No.
Yeah, probably a couple hours a month.
Yeah.
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 And that's, I just keep going back to this, and, all four of you listening has probably heard this before, but there's only two things that matter, right? Wages and cost of
Yes.
goods.
Yeah.
That's the only thing going to impact the profitability of your business.
Yep.
And we spend lots of time on wages and HR and people management and all that. And generally, kind of the purchasing procurement side is just kind of like an afterthought. And walking through this, it got, and again, part of the conversations we've had, it's, there's, I think that was the comment, was, your money's made on what you buy things for.
Well, and so here's another one, just so that it's not ambiguous. Cabling. We run lots of copper. We pull lots of copper, lots of cable, and it's a necessity. So before we go down the path of like, well, I'll do a wireless, there's a necessity in cabling. How do we choose the best cable for the best price? Because that's a area of flexibility that you have as a business operator, that that price can creep up. And it's not something that you might be able to recoup every single dollar.
In the security industry, it's not like we sell, unless you're Alan, but it's not like you sell, like a couple products. So you can't say, okay, well, our grade 2 knob sets, we want to cut those by 75%.
Yeah.
Right. But if you, bite it and take it like an elephant, right? Eating an elephant, doesn't matter.
We
but
got
if
the
you go,
analogy. I
okay.
think.
Yeah, take it like an elephant's not what I meant. But I mean, a bite at a time, and you just look at different products. And if you can save a few percent on a bunch of different products, right, that's going to accomplish the goal. I think, trying to focus in on any one specific thing, it's just not the way to go about it. So, do we need a minute here? Are you guys okay? Oh, man.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a long day.
It has. It was, yeah.
So that was my big takeaway going into this is, a couple of side conversations, get your mind focused on a different thing. So rather than just looking for the new shiny product, what are the things that we can be more intentional on?
some practical things.
Yeah.
Because
on our
we're
purchasing.
here to, and why we're having this conversation, why we do every week, it's about making money.
Yeah.
Trying to make money, make our businesses better, make them more profitable, right? We're not volunteering to do this. We're doing this to make money. And there's some pretty good learning lessons this week on, how we do it. I think it's, I would argue the three of us have some pretty successful businesses relative to our industry. And yet, I felt like, oh my God, I've missed the boat on a really large practical application. And, I got some advice from someone that probably knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
Just, I was like, oh, it's just a whole, eye opener. So that was interesting. That was a good takeaway, I think, for all of us, and it made today walking through the show completely different.
Yeah.
Right, looking at different things for sure.
So Tony, what was your takeaway from?
Other than my shoes,
Yeah.
which I might say, if I assume On is listening.
Most likely.
Most likely.
Or at
So
least
if-
their PR firm.
Yeah. So if you are, these are honestly like the best shoes I've ever had.
Oh, absolutely, hands down.
Ons, they're incredible. Might look a little goofy with red socks and
Yeah.
plaid and stripes and pocket squares and patches, but
It fits your persona.
It's an all pack.
Yeah.
It's the whole. Take it all in.
It fits your persona. What persona is that, Tony?
I think you just described it. Goofy.
You're gonna have to edit that out. Tony, do you have any takeaways?
I agree with the supplier relationship. Like I said, there's
Snarky
the,
today.
the fragmentation of the industry. Another small or minor one, I guess, is that all of the manufacturers now are very adapted to the cloud. Every manufacturer has their own cloud version of this, cloud version of that. 5-6 years ago when I was here, it was, most people had on-premise solutions. There was a couple of cloud manufacturers, and now everyone has both. And I think a big thing to think about with that is look at the companies that are cloud first and only cloud, and not the ones that have just like, oh yeah, we also do this cloud version. But that was another one of my takeaways, was just that the industry has finally fully adapted to the cloud. There's a lot more of it, and I think a lot of the legacy manufacturers now see the importance of being on the cloud. And
Did you say cloud one more time?
I was thinking about that as I was speaking. I was like, wow, Chad is like,
He's really connecting the on cloud
Big on
to
cloud.
cloud.
Send me some shoes.
That was a good ad read.
That was just getting the SEO up so we can hopefully get cloud to find itself.
He's just practicing for our future ad reads.
yes. So
yeah.
that was one of mine.
Yeah. Chad,
That was one of my takeaways.
Did you have any positive takeaways other than the barbaric entry system into the conference itself?
Oof.
Or Tony, did you have another one?
My-
I think
my-
you were going
my
to jump
big-
in there. Well,
I did not. No,
Chad's-
that was it.
Yeah, I
maybe
guess
you're
my-
hungry. Are you hungry? Just a little off.
No, I'm not
kilter.
hungry. I
You
just
just ate.
I just had way too many tortilla chips.
Those were good tortilla chips.
Thank you. The
I wasn't complimenting you.
Thank you. My major takeaway is looking for cost-cutting mechanisms.
Yeah,
I
that specifically.
didn't see any breakthrough technology this year, and I spoke with a lot of other folks walking around the show as well, and where there's some moderate improvements. It didn't seem like there was a major takeaway. Now, there was one manufacturer that I did see that I had never really looked at before, and it was one of the first ones that we saw this morning walking down the aisle, and they actually had an interesting product line that I think is probably applicable for a wide majority of our industry. And I was unfamiliar with the brand, but they've been around for a long time. So that was eye-opening.
This is a cliffhanger. Do you want to say what it was?
Well, I'm
Or-
trying not to be like I'm trying not to
Why not?
push product.
Well, we're not pushing product. Don't just say what it was. Oh, I saw something that was really cool. It could be impactful for everything.
The funny
I'm just
thing
not
is,
going to tell
I
you
know
what it
you're
is.
talking about, and he doesn't. So just don't tell him.
Maybe I was still in bed. I was having a nap.
No, you were standing right there with us.
I will say Tony was very interested in interconnected locks. So
Oh, that was the
every,
lock thingy at the beginning, right at the very beginning.
yes, the lock thingy. Yeah, it was great. And Tony was very interested in interconnected locks all day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've installed a fair few amount of them, and
But yeah, I again didn't see really any groundbreaking. There was a lot of video intercoms, but that was the theme for the
That
last
was-
3 years.
Yeah, I was going to say last year was massive. You know what it might be is this year's such a big push at AI, and you can't see AI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the drones, the
That's a really good point.
The
If you're-
dogs and all that junk.
Yeah, it's not a
cool junk.
You have to see it and
It's
interact
tangible.
with it.
Yeah, AI is.
That's
it's
a real-
not.
yeah.
It's not it. So everything says AI, but
you can't see it unless you get in there and look at the
Yeah.
software. And,
No, we're all traditional locksmith and security companies for like access control cameras. What one really interesting thing, and I'm sure it was there last year. I just didn't see it because I didn't venture into that segment. Was an autonomous patrol
right.
vehicle.
yeah.
So this thing was the size of a
It looks like
Corolla.
a
it was like
floor
a golf
washing
cart.
machine.
It was a golf cart.
Yeah, it was
a golf cart.
Oh, it was a golf cart.
No, it was the size of a golf cart. Wasn't an
Little
actual
larger
golf cart.
than a
We
golf
could have
cart.
used that for golfing though. That'd be kind of handy.
Yeah. Anyways, it's an autonomous patrol vehicle.
Yeah.
A little larger than the size of a golf cart.
Yeah.
And so I was talking to the gentleman about
Like
it.
a little alien spaceship. That's what it looks like.
It does.
With
It
little
looks like-
lights and.
But it
yeah.
has multiple cameras all over it, lights, alerts, all that.
Yeah.
And I was talking to the guy about it. It's not necessarily something that we sell or that we would sell. I don't know. But here's the way that I see those types of things impacting our industry. So we deal with commercial property managers all the time, and most of them have some type of a patrol service.
Guard
to
service,
patrol.
yeah.
This he said it's a 3-to-1 ratio typically on the cost. So you could have 3 of those patrol vehicles for every one
Yeah.
paid human. So you could augment it. Maybe you just say, hey, I'm going to have one human and two of these autonomous vehicles.
Yeah, 'cause I'm not sure that they're yet where it's 100% standalone. You still have someone kind of looking over.
No, it's through. It had AI analytics, so if it sees humans, cars, any of those types of things on property after. So he was given an example for the car dealerships that they want to patrol, parking lots for malls, whatever. It just kind of does its thing, and they had predetermined routes, but then they had route randomization, so that if someone were to watch it and say, oh, it does this track every 7.5 minutes, well, it actually can change its route on its own.
But if it finds an issue,
It's got to alert somebody or something.
that's what I mean. It's still, there is still a human element to it.
Yep.
And I think just as they keep getting better, we're gonna get there.
But the cool thing about it, that this is where I see. I'm trying to see how I can bring all these things together. The interesting methodology around it is it was a autonomous patrol vehicle as a subscription. So there was no. He said there was a small initialization fee, setup fee, but it is all like a lease or a
It's
subscription.
more of an OPEX approach rather than the CapEx.
Yeah. And I really am interested in, and I have yet to see any of the manufacturers here do this at the show, and I was really looking for somebody that was kind of showing this model, but hardware as a service.
Right. Yeah.
On a grander scale. There are some manufacturers that are doing it in small areas, but as a whole. So, for instance, so there's a couple of camera manufacturers that are doing it. You can buy hardware as a service.
Yeah,
but it's
Eagle Eye Complete. I think was one of them.
But it's only a and there's other ones that are doing similar things. That's only a portion of that product line, right?
Yeah.
So if you wanted to do hardware as a service for an access control system, it's only going to take you to a certain limitation, and you still have to purchase the physical door locks.
Yeah.
And so, anyways, I think that there's an interesting model there that has yet to be unlocked.
Well, we've talked about it. We've talked through it, and we want a per door model, and we had, I'm going to say, very moderate success with it. But there is opportunity. I mean, all this is math. You just have to figure out the math behind it. But
That reminds me of an interesting company we talked to today, and I don't know if I agree with what they're doing, but I found it intriguing. They were an alarm company, and instead of selling their software, they were giving their software away for free.
oh, right.
And they just basically said they were trying to control the end-to-end solution, and they were making the money on the hardware, as opposed to other software companies that they don't control the hardware.
It's the
They-
opposite of most.
Yeah, and I was intrigued by it, and I was
Ajax, is that right?
sure. Lars likes to drop names. But,
I don't.
Well, I just think if
that's
people are interested, they might want to
but
look it up.
it was an
Yeah.
interesting
I think it was
idea to
Ajax.
me, and it was intrigued by it because it's like the complete 180 of what everyone else is doing, and I was like,
I would say they're also new to the U.S. market. Is that what they were saying?
Yes.
They said
they're
that, yes.
Huge, and I know because I was speaking with an Australian guy, South African guy, that had said that. Yeah, and they're big in Europe.
Okay.
Across there, they have just a different model.
It is a
was
different model, but
interesting.
I also would say if you were to watch a company like that over the next 3 to 5 years, or 4 to 7 years, it would probably shift that model into a freemium model. Where the software is free, but if you want additional
You don't have
add-ons,
to work. You have to pay
you're going
for
to
it.
have to pay for it,
Yeah.
or they will shift at some point. And
Or be acquired.
And it's great because it's a little, it's a little bit different. Which that's a funny conversation too. It's a little bit different to kind of get catch people's attention when everybody else is doing it a different way. Capture a portion of the market share, and then. And then they shift it on.
And you shift it back, yeah.
But I was talking to somebody yesterday, and he said he was talking about price increases, but with tariffs and everything, and he said, we're going to have to increase prices, and somebody was complaining about it, like you can't do that to us, blah blah blah. And he's like, well, either I'm going to do it or the next guy's going to do it. Like it's going to happen.
Right.
So you talk about being acquired, like. You can have that to a certain point of giving something away or not valuing that particular product, but at a point I think it would get shifted.
Speaking of being acquired, I think I mentioned this to you. When I was walking around yesterday, I saw a person and their company said private equity firm. So I know we just did a podcast on private equity, but private equity is definitely here and a part of the security conference. It's definitely very prominent in our industry, and they come to this show and check everything out as well.
Yeah, one of one of the things that I recognized is we're seeing, I was at Consumer Electronics in January, I think.
Was that here?
First week of
Yeah.
January.
Yeah.
Same,
so,
same.
Yeah, same everything. Yeah.
Well, it's the consumer electronic. It's pretty much all of.
Oh,
the strip,
yeah,
right?
every convention center in
Oh, really?
Vegas, it's
Massive.
10, 20 times the size
Oh,
of this.
wow.
It's
Okay.
everywhere. Every hotel. It's crazy. But there's a blending right now, and it's been happening, but there's a huge blend between the security industry and the IT electronics industry. Because, part of a conversation we were having yesterday again, the models of traditional security, the manufacturers, they're quite profitable. I mean, Allegiant, Dormicaba, and Asabla, they're all public. So, I mean, you can go online, you can look up whatever you want and see they make billions of dollars, right? But then there is, other segments of the industry that are more the tech side where they're not profitable. Every dollar they make, they're spending on, marketing and sales force and trying to get market share with a goal at the end of going public or private equity or another liquidity event. And I'd be just interested to see, what this looks like in the next couple of years. Like, we're all obviously, we all support Brevo products, right? It's cloud-based access control and Eagle Eye, and that's a private company that is, very publicly known. Was trying to go public during the COVID era, and I think the world fell apart. So, but their strategy, of getting market share, getting subscription, right. And really, it's running like a tech company, right?
Oh, yeah.
Which, as opposed to the traditional manufacturers. Yeah. So it's interesting to see, and I think Verkada was another one we saw right at the front, right? And
they weren't
big lineups.
Around 4 years ago.
They're selling, or they're giving away Theraguns and like actual, like, this isn't like, here's a pin. Like, they're giving away a bunch of stuff. Like, it's obviously trying to make a brand, a market, really. And it's just interesting to see, and I'm going to be curious to see how this works relative to our kind of traditional manufacturers in the security industry, because that's a very much so a zero-sum, zero profit kind of get all the market share and then have a major liquidity event.
Yeah. So I don't know how relative this is, but I'll just toss it out. I was watching a video this morning talking about live golf versus PGA, and how live golf is still losing just massive millions and millions of dollars year over year while trying to build this brand. And the question that the person posed was, how much longer is that investment group going to continue to allow it to lose that much money before they just shut the whole thing down? And so, same type of thing. We see that in the security industry. These companies have come in and have started out with all of this venture capital to be able to start this brand up, and they are burning significant more money than they're making. And the concern with all that in the world of security, I think, and in the world of install, I think probably if you take it outside of security as a whole, is once that appliance is mounted and it's there and it's functioning, and then if for whatever reason that funding dries up and they say, yep, let's exit, you have a lot of product there that is just unserviceable. There's a lot of question marks around how that works.
Acquisition rarely ends up in better service.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean. Looking at some of these, you're kind of wondering, like, once these founder-led companies do make this exit, what does that mean for the product?
Yeah. Because
we're stuck holding the bag.
Correct.
Good or bad. Right. So it's curious. It was obvious the companies that were being tech focused and led, kind of a venture look versus a private equity look, or just, the public companies that are established.
Well, what's funny is I think I said it to you, or no, it was you. We were talking about a product we walked by, and you'll probably name drop it, but it's been the same product for 20 years.
Yeah.
But it's what I was going at, it was these people are actually reliable. Like, they haven't innovated, but they do make a product that sticks around.
I was like, yeah, this has been the same product for the past 25 years. That they've got a 0.5 more powerful horsepower motor to be able to push that thing. But that's about the level of innovation. Or we rounded some of the corners on our.
They're going to be around. They've been around for 20 years. They're going to be around 20 years longer. It may not be the most innovative product, but it is consistent and it's reliable.
And it works.
And it works.
And it works.
So two things.
Oh, no.
One,
Jessica, if you are listening, I apologize on Chad's
we know
behalf.
she doesn't listen.
and the thing
Good
is,
point. She'll never hear this.
She was pretty adamant
Chad's
that she does
wife
not listen to
has
us.
never listened to this podcast. Unbelievable.
Well, she had pretty good logic.
That's true.
so I didn't actually say that intentionally. So I just caught myself when it came out. But anyways, the first thing is, what are we going to do about what we our takeaways from this
Yeah.
last couple of days, and then secondly, terrible topic, Tony, for our next topic. So first question.
We already know the next topic.
So first, well, then it'll be easy. First question is what? So based off of all of the things that we just talked about, what does that impact, or how does that? What are you going to do with it next
So
week?
what? Yeah.
If I had to sum up my major takeaway from the last couple of days, it would be that a product's a product is a product. And the best thing that we can do to differentiate our business is to focus on non-product things, the service we're providing, and then the relationships with suppliers, making sure that we're buying goods at a good price, making sure that we're delivering good service, and just making sure that we operate a very healthy business. It doesn't matter what product you're using. Every company in here is using whatever. But really, the way to differentiate yourself is to A, provide good service, B, run a healthy business by managing costs.
Yeah, because to what we just talked about, talked about, we have to make sure that we're running a financially stable business so that we don't leave our customers
Correct.
holding the bag for what we've left out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to go back to, again, our conversation with Lucas, and, our biggest customers don't get the biggest prices or the best prices. Right. That's what? That was just like, what? You said, well, no, it's, to make money, you have to build that relationship and negotiate with your suppliers.
Yeah.
And, that just made me realize, I think, Chad, you said, you talk to your suppliers lots and you talk upstream, but, it's not about specifics and about pricing and, and I just feel like a big dummy. Like, oh my God, I've been.
It's finally realized it.
Well, it's sitting with you guys. I mean,
you did say
being the
earlier
smartest guy
that
in
you
the
come
room,
here to
like
hang
you
out
said,
with people
is
that
not
are
a good
smarter
idea.
than you. So it's
Yeah, I know.
clear you came here to hang out with us.
yeah, that's why I got to get new friends.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was quite a.
I think what I'm going to do, and some of the notes that I took, we already have a quarterly pricing review that's been kind of, we talked about that a couple episodes ago.
What is that? Up or down?
It's up,
That's up, yeah.
and so what I intend to do going in is to add an additional layer in that for cost awareness on kind of consumables or things that are not necessarily customer choice purchases
The
or costs.
word we use is commodities.
Yeah.
And we have anything that's interchangeable. Your levers, it's levers
Hey.
on Earth.
Good job.
Levers, knobs, door closers, your exit devices, your hinges, your key blanks, all those things that are interchangeable, truly commodities.
Yeah.
Those are the things that make a difference.
Yeah.
So and on that
Figure out how
level,
to count it.
yeah,
That's-
on that level, but also this we actually had this conversation a month ago in our business around conduit. So we purchase a lot of sticks of conduit from the big box stores, and it's just started asking the question, like, one, we're paying retail sales tax on it. We're also making a trip to go buy 100 foot at a time. Maybe we should find a supplier that we can have it delivered here, pay a little bit less for it, and not have to pay sales tax on it. That over the course of a year, we buy a lot of sticks of conduit. Say cabling, the hardware, screws, bolts.
Your consumable kind of
Yeah.
things, yeah.
How can we find cost savings there? Because when we look at it on a grand scale, then that can be a massive benefit to
A couple
them.
points over a whole bunch of products can make that same impact
Yeah. Yep.
as really grinding down one major
Yeah.
project.
And then I think the second thing is really, again, being aware of our pricing to our customers, but even more so taking another step in how often are we negotiating and or having conversations with our suppliers and manufacturers around cost and price so that we are balancing it on both sides.
What were your takeaways? Biggest one. What are you going to do differently? He asked the question.
He already answered.
Were you sitting here like 30 seconds ago?
Yeah.
It was very similar to that. It was, reviewing costs.
Oh, I
with
thought
the
you were just
suppliers.
piggybacking off of what he
Oh,
said.
No, that is my biggest
Okay,
takeaway.
okay.
That's an eye-opener that I'm a dummy. You guys
Gotcha.
are just a little bit dummier.
So, biggest takeaway,
Yeah.
you're a dummy.
Yes.
Your biggest takeaway, you're a dummy.
Yes.
That's a
I
great
already
one
knew
to end.
that.
That's
Glad
great to
you
end on.
really-
That is a good reel for the marketing. You're
Yeah.
a big dummy.
Yeah. Okay,
Tony.
terrible topic.
Well, we already know the topic.
Can you tell everyone else,
Yes.
including me?
Specialization versus generalization. We talked about this.
Oh, yeah.
So,
I talk all the time and I never
Yes.
listen to it.
And that one we're actually going to record again together in Charlotte.
yeah.
Thank God we got some time.
It's a good
off.
good segue from this episode, though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
what do
talked a
we-
lot about products. and-
Hopefully our setup will be a little better.
I don't know.
We
I'm
can't
quite
guarantee.
enjoying this. Actually.
What are we doing in Charlotte? No, we're going up to Virginia.
We're gonna.
What's happening
I'm
there?
going there to eat pizza. I don't know what
Yeah.
everyone else
Correct.
is doing.
I was meaning we're going to Virginia because we are.
It's so we all three of us are on an advisory board for the Asa Abloy Security Center Partner Program, and we are going up there for a meeting.
That was
It's impressive.
very impressive. You remembered all 12 of those words.
I don't know if any of them are accurate, but I think, or if they're in the
they're
right
part of
order.
SIA, right? Or ISC West
Oh, boy.
Expo.
That one was rough.
ASP.
We got to get that figured out.
So
We have
was a
no
good
clue.
start.
And I
Yes.
don't have a phone here to be able to search myself, so I have
Well,
no idea.
and it turns out without ChatGPT, you're
I'm useless.
pretty dopey.
Yeah.
yeah, that's good.
We should
Just hand
probably
the keyboard.
we should probably also take a picture of our studio setup
Yeah,
that-
we
and
can
post
do
that
that.
out as well.
yeah, that's
high quality right
I'll
there.
maybe do that. Chad, where do people find us if they actually want to find us?
Yeah, for sure. So if you've made it through this episode and you want to see what a normal podcast looks like for us, check us out at unlockedpodcast.com. You can subscribe there, follow all the links to our all of our podcast platforms. And again, man, we've really appreciated, and it's been cool even while we're here, having some conversations with people around that are listening to the podcast, giving us some ideas on future topics. So send those conversations our way, and we look forward to sharing more of this, a little better content than today, but we'll do a better job next week.
Exactly. Be less Tony, more us.
There we go.
That's perfect.
So thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time here on the Unlocked Podcast.